for it. But yeah, man. So where were we? We were on the topic of
D
D&D, and so no, that's cool. That's cool. So you also said you're a fan of bodybuilding, which we're gonna get into more. Video gaming, boxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of your passions. Like, so let me hear it. What got you into sort of fighting and just being competitive? I'm assuming video gaming is a lot of competitiveness for you and stuff like that. Tell me about yourself, man.
So with like just MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, it's just kind of been a way to like when I was a kid, like really little, my kind of grandparents put me into that. I think to kind of get away, like, have something to be busy. It was fun, and I kind of liked the discipline and the structure, which obviously kind of like led to the military. But I've done some tournaments and stuff like that, but it's never really been about like like whooping someone's ass. It's just been like a fun outlet, like to be able to do cool stuff. I watch like Bruce Lee movies, all these stuff like that. And while I never did anything like that, it's just cool to have that like in your back pocket, and then it's just fun.
That's good. That's what so Silver Springs, Maryland, how close is that to, were you closer to like big cities? Was that sort of away from everything? Was that one of the reasons like why you got into fighting? I'm assuming, was that from a young age? Or
Yeah,
just
so it was
culture?
on the border of DC. So yeah,
So yeah.
big city. I was a smaller kid growing up, so got my ass kicked a lot, and it was one of those things where you get your ass kicked to you're a good fighter just by getting your ass kicked a lot, or you just keep getting your ass kicked. So
Were you small, or I mean back then, obviously you're not now, you're big as shit now, but like were you a small kid? Is that why you had to learn how to kind of defend yourself?
oh yeah.
That's sweet. I never had, so I grew up out in the sticks, man, but one thing I had was just like just always being outside in the woods. Like, I mean, we had big old hills in the woods with creeks at the bottom. We, take the brakes off our bikes, riding them down hills. I mean, there was scraps and fights here and there, but nothing like, I was never really bullied or anything like that. But I think you hear a lot of stories like that though, where fighting really competing and fighting, any sort of skill within the fighting world sort of helps younger kids that suffer from anything like that or go through anything like that. So that's really cool. How did that all translate for you going into the military? Like, what sparked the interest there for you?
So a funny story with that. I had originally, so my dad's a cop, and I originally thought about being a police officer, and like did all the interviews and everything, turned everything in. But I did it pretty much as I was leaving high school, and it comes around where it's I think it's like November or something like that, and I'm not hearing anything back, and he's still working for them at the time. Like 20 years in, he's like, I don't know what to tell you. They haven't got back to me either. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
damn, if they're not getting back to me, like I'm just gonna go to the military because I've been doing nothing. All my friends are in college, like I'm doing nothing, and I do everything. I'm in basic training, and I get a letter my second week in basic training. So it probably came when I was like leaving, but was my acceptance letter into the Maryland State Police.
Dang. And
Yeah.
so you kind of had like a decision, right? Like, I mean, so did you finish college, or you just dipped out of college prematurely like I did? Is that where you got your associates there before you ended up joining, or no?
No. So I just I went to use the GI Bill to get my associates.
Nice.
Now I'm on voc rehab, and I don't know if you want to go over that like now or what voc
We
rehab
can,
is.
yeah. That's one thing I wanted to, yeah, definitely highlight and bring up. So, explain that to us. So, for anyone that doesn't know, you're getting your bachelor's in science in exercise science, BA or BS in exercise science. Sorry, uh, but you said you're using vocational rehabilitation. Is that a part of the GI Bill? Is it something separate?
So it is kind of like a side thing to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
What that is I believe it's chapter 31. You don't quote me on that, but it's one of the
I
chapters.
will.
But
Trust me, I
yeah,
won't.
uh, but what it is it's kind of like one of the things that you can use to if you have a disability rating, and it depends on like where they do it. Sometimes it's like 10%, sometimes it's 20, but it doesn't really need to be what it is. And it's like so whatever you were going to do when you were getting out of the army or whatever military, you can't do anymore because of your disability. So what it does, instead of, like, for example, giving you a book stipend, let's say, how like they give you $500 for books. That's not going to cover books. That's not going to cover a lot of things that you need. Vocational rehabilitation will cover that. So if you're in a computing class, and you need, whatever computer, or you need, different programs, like they'll pay for that, and it's not just you kind of paying out of your pocket. I mean, it all has to be within the scope of that program, but they will pay for it.
Is it accessible to like anyone that just falls under their guidelines? Do you have to have any sort of special type of services that you've done or anything like that?
No, if you fall under their guidelines, you got to go there. You got to qualify. The biggest thing is that they give you a counselor, which I think is a better thing, because you're accountable to that counselor. So like every term they'll be like, hey, what are your grades? What are you doing? What's the job market for your particular whether it's a vocation or whether it's a college degree. You're a little bit more accountable. So you have a little bit more focused path.
Right. No, that's cool. I honestly, dude, I can't stress this enough to anybody on this show. I will say this time and time again, find counselors and people. There's such a fucking, sorry, pardon my French. Like there's such a, what's the word, a stigma on having counselors and like having a therapist. And when you say that, that's just somebody who's a professional at getting you to where you want to be. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person or anything. Like I will always push, find opportunities where you get a counselor. So if they add a counselor to their program, I think that sets them apart, in my opinion, for other programs that just kind of get you in and here's your benefits. Thanks taxpayers, get the fuck in your school or whatever, like get out of face. But it's like, there is a lot of personal discipline that comes with maintaining and having that relationship with people like that and knowing their benefit and value versus seeing them as a stigma and just being like, whatever, So that's really cool. Do you know any, I mean, I'm sure people can just Google vocational rehabilitation, benefits, stuff like that. Do you have any direct links or anything that off the top of your head that you could share with the people listening? If not, what I'll do is just throw them into the show notes and stuff. So it's not.
So I don't, but a really good place to start is, I mean, you can just go to pretty much any college near you, and they're going to have usually some type of veterans rep to help you out, and they'll walk you through the process. Like I went there and I was like, hey, like I really don't know anything, but I know I have GI benefits.
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
I just don't know how to use them, and like I've helped. I got it done that way, and then when I was working for the VA, because like you can work as a work study usually in the veterans service office.
Yeah.
I've done that for people, and it's just like, hey, this is where you need to go. This is what you need to do. So I guess the one website that can help is ebenefits.va.gov.
Okay.
And that will, so you go there and it's pretty much your whole like military, everything you need.
If you're a veteran, you should honestly be going to that website like fucking monthly, in my opinion. Just maybe not monthly, that might be a little extreme, but like honestly, you need to be checking into that stuff because the amount of value that you can find on that website alone is insane. So just, I don't know. I guess I don't sympathize as much with people that say like, the world hates me, like I'm never going to be a success. And they've never checked on that website in their life, and it's just like the things are right there for you. So thanks for sharing that. So let's transition a little bit into the physique world, the bodybuilding world. I know I had to ask for everyone listening, I had to ask Billy specifically what it was that he did, but I'm glad that he cleared it up because he's doing big things within the physique world, the bodybuilding world. Physique world. And you also are a personal trainer business. So I guess that all just correlates within everything that you've been a part of your whole life, like just wanting to slay some weights and be a boss. But what got you into all that? Let's go turn the corner a little bit into that.
So it's my fiance actually got me into the sport, and she was doing it. I was like, it'd be something to kind of just kind of support her, do it with her. And then I ended up loving it and started going to school for exercise science. I kind of was already interested in it. But as far as like the veteran community and like what that side of it. There's a lot of people that do work out, but I think it's one of the things where, so like I pretty much stopped drinking to work out, and it kind of helped me learn, like, I don't need to drink, or I don't need to actually be a part of, the drinking culture all the time to have fun. So kind of remove myself away from some of that. And then it helped me just get in better shape. And I know a lot of guys kind of need that, like a task to do or a deadline. So that helps.
Do you Snapchat? Not too much into your personal life. Like, do you see people on Snapchat? Basically, is what I'm saying. Like peers, people you know, their stories. Okay, it just pains me because I feel like, and I use it really just more for marketing things, adding my podcast information, like showing your picture, saying, "Hey, check out the podcast." But I see a lot of stuff on there that hurts me because it's like people will dive into these routines of just doing the same shit every weekend, drinking, partying, being pissed on Monday. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you said that because I forget what the show was I was just listening to, but there's a big point that you just made that sort of the gym sort of caused you to see a different side of things, basically, because you started putting all your energy just into yourself, and you cut out all the exterior shit that was taking up your energy that wasn't getting you anywhere, basically. And so that transition, how do we get more people to kind of click that and to find that for themselves? Do you think it always needs to start with physical fitness, or do you think that there's other forms or hobbies that, you know what I mean, that people can get into that will get them out of that fucking rat race, thinking that going out and living for the moment and partying it up on Snapchat is the fucking ticket when it's not. So how do we get people, you know what I mean, to understand that more?
So like was my philosophy, at least with fitness, I think fitness is kind of a good place to start. After that, you can kind of move into other things. But no one should feel limited by their physical ability, because there's people out there squatting, deadlifting more than me, and they got, one arm, one leg, other wounded veterans that don't make excuses for that, or people, who are 70, 80 years old and they're still doing it. There's always a way to get around it.
Too right now. The cerebral palsy community is like sparking right now. They got it. Like they're like, we got this. Fuck it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then with that is kind of finding what makes you happy, or kind of something a little bit more tangible. Because when you go out to the bar, and I'm not saying, it's okay to have a drink once in a while, or, go out, even if you get like raging every once in a while, but not every weekend. And it's one of the things where if you have something tangible or something that you can be proud of, I think that's what's going to gravitate you to that thing more and more. So whether if it's, for me, bodybuilding, whether if someone can sew, whether if someone can cook, whether it's someone, doesn't matter what it is. Once you start figuring out what you enjoy and what you can be proud of, that's what's going to take you to the next level.
And it's going to push you into that thing that you're missing too, for most veterans at least, is, that camaraderie element, the motivational sort of team aspect. I know damn well a lot of us aren't getting that from our 9-to-5s, if we have one, because just the way businesses are nowadays, that there's too many protection rules and laws and stuff. You got to be super tight at work. And so that is one of the best ways, is to sort of develop more like what your hobbies and passions really are. And I always say too, a lot of times people think, I think especially Americans, we're ingrained to think that we have to find one thing to love and to be passionate about. Whereas, like, I suggest failing and trying different things. And, you never know if you would like powerlifting until you go lift a fucking bar that you can't lift. Like, or something, like getting in with these groups that will sort of help you level up out of that routine, just bar lifestyle. And I'm using a bar lifestyle. I don't, just the mundane, like going home every night, shutting yourself in, doing the same bland things over, and being unhappy is really the thing. So along with all the fitness and stuff, what made you want to sort of help others? I mean, I guess it just all comes from the passion of what we just talked about, getting other people to hit those points as far as the range of athletics and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just kind of helping people. Like, I don't want to be that guy like, oh man, I've always just needed to help people in my life. I just kind of like helping people in my circle.
That's the
and then
only
it
way.
kind of just start to expand from there, you know.
That's the only way to real fulfillment. I firmly believe that is to help other people. I truly do. So I mean, I don't shame people that fucking want to help others, despite like it's like a popular thing right now, but it fucking should be. There's too much negativity in the world, so be proud of that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, so I did like, I wasn't going like, oh man, I'm just going to save everyone through fitness. Like everyone that I meet is going to be, you know, fit for me. Like it's kind of just, you know, people that came to me or people that, you know, clients, stuff like that. I started helping them, just people in my circle. And then, with the thing I do on Instagram and fitness and whatever like that, it's kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to like shout out the win to try to help people. And if they like it, they like it. They follow me, they don't, you know, it doesn't really matter. Like, the content I try to put out is at least evidence-based, especially with the fitness stuff, because there's a lot of, you know, just bro science out there. And that's part of like why I want to get my degree too, to be able to provide my clients, you know, the best information that's out there, really.
Right, right, and that's good. I think you know, every market can be looked at one way or another, and fitness is one of those that you probably do have a ton of naysayers that are telling you what you're doing is, you know, it's a saturated market, and it's usually the people that give you those shitty pieces of advice are the ones that have never done it. And so I always just hold, you know, for those listening, like if you guys are following some sort of passion, if you have people that tell you different things or try to bring you down on what you're doing, just stick to what you're doing. Like it was easy for me to look at all the different veteran podcasts out there and be scared and shook and be like, well, look at all these shows already. You know, what am I going to do? Where's my lane? And what I did was just started supporting them. And then what that did was created like my own way just naturally, just because through my supporting them, I learned what they were lacking or, you know, just what they were good at that I could continue pushing out to other veterans and stuff. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. But I think there's one other big piece of your life that we haven't talked about yet. So I want to get onto that. And that is, if y'all haven't seen, I mean, look at his face. So he's an actor, you know, and look at the smile, right? So we got to talk about some of this acting stuff because I was just telling Billy earlier, you know, that I don't see a lot of veterans that pursue. I don't see many people that pursue acting. I think it's just we're built to believe that it's like such an intimidating thing to get into, sort of like becoming a famous musician or something like, oh, it's like, you know, oh my gosh, to be an actor be so sensational or whatever. So like we have somebody who is doing it and is pursuing it. And I wanted to talk a lot about that because I want to motivate other people to find really what it is that they'll be happy doing, you know? So what got you into acting? Couldn't have been all the fighting you were doing.
No, so I actually started with a little bit of modeling, and then some of the people were doing kind of projects. They were like, hey, you know, it'd be cool if, you know, you come on set, kind of see what you do. Started with extra work, and then there's so many like free websites you can go on, like Portland Casting Calls. Like, every city has one.
That's what I'm saying.
Backstage,
Right?
somebody can pay, yeah. And you know they're just open, and I was like, hey, I'm just gonna go audition, and I got the part. And the first part was like was really for a Venmo commercial, and I mean they cut a lot of the stuff that we eventually did, but it was just cool being on set and like seeing that. And I mean that was a smaller production. I think there was only like maybe total, including the actors, like 10 of us.
Where was it?
It was in Portland.
Portland? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead though. Sorry.
No, it's fine. And then with the Throwback Barbers comedy, working with Vincent Vargas, or you know Rocco, he's been on Maya and stuff like that. We were actually we served as Rangers together, and he told me he was doing a show, and he's like, bro, dude, like if you're an actor, like come out. And it was a funny story. I was actually going out there. My flight got canceled, so I had to drive the 11 hours like last minute to Utah.
But you did it.
Yeah.
And that got you your first this to me, your first IMDb credit, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen that before. I've been to that website. What does that entail necessarily? I mean, for your role that you did, it's Mark, right?
Yeah.
Mark. All right, cool.
So with that, it's just kind of I mean, I'm still kind of like learning everything, but it's just
Sort of a notoriety, basically.
Yeah, kind of like an achievements page, I guess. So
Mhm.
people can search you and then see that you've actually like done like legitimate work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sweet, dude. That's props to that. I mean, that's exciting. I have we sort of pushed this episode on shorter notice, so I haven't seen the movie, but I plan to see the movie. I'm also going to find these commercials too. I'm sure I can find them on YouTube if I look hard enough. But if I find them, I'm going to put the links in the show notes, so people can go and see your work. I think that's super cool. You also got a major national commercial for FN America, right?
Yeah, with that one there wasn't any speaking lines. It was kind of like you do action and then they play the music over it. That was really fun. I got to work with Eli Cuevas, or I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not.
All right.
But Eli Double Tap is his Instagram name, and really cool guy. And that's another thing. Like I work with like all these sets where I'm legit the least important person. And
You gotta start somewhere though.
and everyone is so much cooler than like they have any reason to be, and it's just weird. Like I go on set with throwbacks, and there's people who like top billed actors, and they're like, "Hey man, like you're doing good, you're cool. Like want water or anything?" I'm like, "Oh, like fuck, like nah, man, I'm good." It's just like a
Yeah,
weird thing.
I was just gonna ask too. Like, you're probably that dude there, that, like, still asking for autographs for the people you're working with. Like, hey, can I get something from you real quick? Like, no, that's really exciting though. My acting career lasted all of like 10 minutes. In high school, there was an opportunity to audition for a commercial. So there's two brothers from our, basically where I'm from. They went on to create the $1 million winning Super Bowl Doritos commercial. Well, they auditioned for that commercial at my high school. And I was like one of three people that auditioned. And one of the people that auditioned was like this kid who did drama, all this stuff. Like, he's still an actor today. He went to school, like college, for acting, all this stuff, right? He got the part. The only reason I did the part, they were offering 2,500 bucks. And they said they were going to pay us. I think I got paid like 250 bucks just for going.
Nice.
I was like, screw it. You know what I mean? Like, I was pretty outgoing and stuff. I was like, let's. And so that was like, but one thing I could say is super exciting. And just, you get super nervous if you're not used to it. Just kind of going into the environment, and it's like in your head, when you're not trying to act, you think, oh, I can play that part, I can do that, I can do that. And then they're telling you how to do something, and you fuck it up, or at least I did. I don't know. So I give a lot of credit to actors. I realize why they get paid a lot of money. I think it's not easy. It takes certain skills. So that's really cool that you're able to combine that with everything else that you got going on. So how long have you been out of the military?
So I'm still in the Guard right now.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm getting out this October. It'll be 13 years. But I would say the biggest thing with kind of like acting and kind of tying it back to the MMA thing is it's like you can't have an ego, because regardless, if you have an ego, you go into any martial arts gym, you're gonna get your ass kicked, or no, you're doing it wrong, and the reason it's gonna be your fault. And the same thing when you go on set is that it's you might have the character your way in your head, and that's the way you've been practicing it. But when you get around other people and what the director wants, like it's for you to give the director what they want, not what you want. So it's real. It's humbling in a sense, where you need to be able to do kind of be flexible, and it's also a big thing about like not taking things personally and failure, because I can't tell you how many roles I've auditioned for, and they're like, oh yeah, we like you, and then I never get a call back, and I can't be like, oh man, I suck, I shouldn't do this anymore. Just
Have you
it's
ever
just
had
something
like
that happens.
have you ever had like any fucking like brutal rejections? Like, has anyone just like stopped you after like 2 seconds or anything? Like, sort of like a promotion board or anything?
No,
Like, I get this dude the fuck out of here. We don't know who the fuck. You need to go be a cook.
not yet, but I'm always waiting for it.
Yeah,
I
like,
guess.
well, at least you're mentally. Like, it's good to prepare though, because like you said, if you have an ego, you're not preparing for shit like that, and when it hits you, you're gonna crumble. Like, and it's going to cripple you, and you're going to not be able to progress into that career like you should have. And so eliminating the ego, and you said for acting, I think it pertains to absolutely everything that you try to do, at
Yeah.
least everything you try to be successful at doing. I'll touch on that too. One of the things that sort of crippled my military career was my ego. I was young. I got a really great job going in. I don't know how much of my story you know, but I'm not going to touch on it too much. But went in as a cryptologic linguist, had to learn Mandarin at the language school, right? And got dropped. I made it like 8 months out of the course. We had like a year and 4 months to become fluent. So I was doing really well. I was fluent already. But we tested so much. We had so many weekly and monthly tests. And if you got below 80% on any category of these tests, which were like reading, speaking, listening, things like that, you're done. They dropped you, cutthroat. And then you get reclassed. That happened to me along with a bunch of other people. And so I got recycled to a fucking supply specialist, which logistics is an incredible field. It's an incredible market. There's a lot of money to be made in the civilian world. And so it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I had like this 6-year contract. And right there, though, I still was like trying to be my best. Like I wanted to be as good of a soldier as possible. I ended up going to Stewart, got fenced in, and couldn't do anything. Like couldn't do anything through branch. I tried to go green to gold 2 years in a row. Brigade lost my packet both years in a row. Like just so much shit, just like piling me down, piling me down. And my ego took me to rock bottom. My ego wasn't trying to like weather the storm. My ego wanted what I wanted right then and there. And I didn't have the courage to wait a couple more years to get what I needed. You know what I mean? So it fucked up my career. I don't have like regrets on anything. It was all learning lessons, but ego's huge, man. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
You guys gotta lose it. It'll keep you too from what we were saying earlier. Staying out of the bar, doing all this stuff every weekend. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Well, it's because one of the things too, like, I mean, again, I told you that, there's been a bunch of things that I haven't, a lot of roles that I applied for that I didn't get. And like, just like learning, like the failure is like really a normal part of life. Whereas, in the military, it's like, you can't fail, people die, blah, blah, blah. And that's not the way it is in the civilian world. People fail left and right all the time. People fail more than they succeed, way more.
That's something to consider too when you get out of the military. I had trouble with that, with like trying to critique civilians on their every freaking action all the time, and just sort of having like a judgy mentality of like, these people don't care more, they don't focus. Like I'll see people on the road, and I'll see a phone, and I'll be like, like these people are gonna kill somebody. Like how are they, And I have to check myself sometimes because it's like in the military, yeah, it's like we have to be perfect, because people really will die. But it's like on the other end, you have to learn how to just control what's up here and what's in here, and stick to your lane. And I think that you'll see success a lot faster than you would if you try to just keep your ego and push through life.
Yeah.
So, you added a couple things I want to touch on really quick before we wrap this episode, dude. So we talked about a couple of the things that we listed, but memorial wraps, American trigger pullers, those two things we have not talked about. And you mentioned you wanted to plug those, or let's talk about those if you wanted.
Yeah, so Memorial Wraps actually gave my first like sponsorship with them. Awesome brand. A buddy of mine, George Diaz, another Ranger, it's his company. Awesome lifting gear. I use all their stuff, and it's just like kind of part of the things where I think sometimes we don't necessarily do things for ourselves, especially we've had people that died, and it kind of just memorializes them. And you have the life that you have, and they don't. You need to keep pushing ahead because you're kind of given that gift. Don't waste it.
Right.
I know some people deal, and myself as well. I dealt with survivor's guilt a little bit of the buddies because it was kind of like oh, I'm this kid who's doing these things, and someone who might have died had buddy of mine died. He had a family. And
yeah,
it was shitty that, I was like, well, what am I doing? And I think Memorial Wraps kind of helps that message that you need to still live your life, like live the life that they would have wanted you to live.
right. Yeah, that's incredible. Where's the business at? Where are they located?
California.
See, I'm in California, so maybe we'll
Look
have
them
to
up.
talk to your brother. No, I'm gonna use you. We're gonna talk. We're getting a three-way DM, little. Uh, anyway, no, that's an incredible mission. I think that's something that we need to focus on more as a community, because I think that's one of the things that really escalates our situations within the community too, within individuals, within mental health issues, things like that. People do dwell on that shit for God knows how long, each day, and it can really get out of hand for veterans. So to promote that mission into that message and to get that out there is something I'm very passionate about. So I mean, on a realistic level, we should talk more about memorial raps. Um, I would like to talk about that. You know what I mean? That it's
Yeah,
a cool thing. So,
yeah. I'll definitely get
American,
you on with George, just about a little bit more about his mission,
at the very least, I
and
can do
what they
a
do for
blog on the
veteran
internet.
creation. Yeah,
Yeah, if you can't get on the show, it's at the very least, I'll blog about it or something. Put out some sort of content for it.
yeah,
So whatever we can work up will be awesome.
for sure. Yeah, I know George would love to talk to you too. So.
Good deal. That sounds good. American Trigger Pullers. What's that?
So American Triller Pookers, another sponsor that I have for bodybuilding. I just love the designs, and another Ranger company. They actually work with some of their screen printing through Memorial Wraps because they work together. And it's just I like supporting veteran companies over
Mhm.
your Nike and your whatever. Just because a lot of times a lot of the Nike stuff, they're kind of corporate, so they need to apply or appeal to like mass audiences where if I want like something more veteran centric, then I can get what I want, get what's for me, for my community. And they make really good designs. I mean, that's not just them, that's a lot of other smaller companies, so I'd always rather go mom and pop than corporate if I can.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. What was I just thinking about too? Speaking of which, last episode I had Christian Myers. He owns Terra Arma. So I was speaking
Okay,
like
yeah.
you're a big bodybuilding guy, you know what I mean? A lot of fitness and stuff. So he has patented material shirts, basically like the dry fit, but they're regulation to be worn under uniforms and stuff. But they're designed for sort of like high intensity. You should check them out too, because you could end up with some of his shirts when you go do workouts and stuff. Really nice stuff. It's sort of like Lululemon material, but that's what this is all about. Is just getting that network to continue to like grow. I think awareness is our biggest issue, especially for veteran startups. Just getting the awareness of, because the veteran community is small, so it's
Yeah,
like to reach every veteran. You don't have the rest of the population always sharing our shit like they do all this other dumb shit. So it's like we have to push 10 times harder to get that shit out. And there's a lot of people really stepping up. It's really exciting to see. So I'm glad that you're doing things like that, even if it's not just your own thing. If it's not, I think we need more of that, more help, more promotion, more networking. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the floor to you. I've covered everything with you, man, at least for this conversation. So if there's anything we missed out, now's your chance. If you want to plug anything, anybody, let us know what you're doing coming up in the future. How can we follow you? How can we see? I don't know if you got any events coming up, any competitions, things like that. Yeah. How can we stay in tune with Billy Dunston?
You can follow me on Instagram, Billy D275th. So one of the things there I do for my Ranger Athletics, at least once a week, I post something there. Just a quick tip. Right now I'm doing like the 52-week challenge. Because you always get your 90-day or your 30-day, whatever that's supposed to give you lasting change. Mine's I give something once a week, so that way at the end of the year you have about an hour of content for you to be able to make those changes, and now you have a year's worth of changes.
Okay.
Um,
That's awesome. And so they can get that info through your Instagram page?
yeah, so I put
Okay.
videos up there, and they're not always completely you need to do exercise this way. Some of them is just lifestyle stuff and how to change like little tweaks to kind of make whether it's diet, nutrition, mindset a little bit better.
Nice. Okay, cool. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show to talk to me. I know for everyone that's listening, for anybody that knows about the show, we haven't had a show posted in a while. There's been a lot of kinks with communication, a lot of dropouts, just a lot of stuff happening, but not putting any excuses out there. We have a lot of stuff planned for the near future. If you guys do listen to this podcast, I don't ask for anything monetarily from you guys. Like, this show's free. If you guys gain anything from this, especially if you're a veteran and you hear any of these conversations and you like what you're hearing, if you want more things like that, all I ask is just give us some engagement online. Share our posts, tag friends. Engagement is what's going to get this show out there. It's going to get more ears and eyes on people like Billy, all these incredible companies, organizations, and that's really all we ask. So I do have a sponsor. We'll plug them after this show. Stick around for that. Billy, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. I hope you enjoy the rest. You're up in Portland, so if anyone's in Portland, check him out. I know you're still in the guard and all that, so you probably can't be out spitting off where you are exactly and stuff, but, hit him up if you go to the area, and make sure to definitely follow him and definitely check back in on the Veteran Growth Podcast. Billy, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, same, brother.
All right. Hold on, dude. We're done. I'm just going to stop recording.